What's up? Hello, everyone. Welcome to our episode 3. Tonight's episode is going to be a special edition in which we're going to be reviewing case studies from the Capstone project for Airtribe. For those of you who are new, I'll tell you what that means in exactly a bit. But till then, welcome. Please drop a message in the chat. Would love to see your name here if you've joined tonight. Overall, we're going to be reviewing 3 case studies today, and we're going to be doing it with Bonnie, who's one of the designers at Airtribe. And what we're going to be talking about are 3 projects that C7, so cohort 7 10K designers members worked as part of their final project for Airtribe. Now, to give you a quick summary there, capstone projects are final projects, industry projects, whatever you want to call them. We like calling them capstone projects. These are problem statements submitted by companies at the end of the cohort so that they so that number one, members get a real problem statement from a company that they can work on. It's almost like the kind of project you would work if you were maybe interning there. Outside of that, companies use this to test out a lot of problem statements, to explore, and in a lot of cases end up hiring from this pool as well. So we're excited to see some of these case studies. So let me bring on real quick our guest for tonight, Bonnie, right here. Hey Bonnie, how are you doing? I think you're on mute.
Okay, so sorry. Hi, Abhinav. I'm doing great. How about you?
Awesome. Excited to go into these projects. You're tuning in from
Yeah.
Bangalore, right? Tonight?
Yes, I am.
Awesome.
I'm currently at work right now. I decided to stay back and just take this call from here. Yeah,
Awesome. Thank you.
yeah.
So, Bonnie, maybe we can start from here. Can you give us a little bit of context around just quickly what does Airtribe do? And after that, maybe we can talk about what were the capstone problem statements.
Sure. So I'll quickly introduce myself for those of you who don't know. Most probably, a lot of people don't know me, but yeah, I'm Boni. I've been working as a product designer at Airtribe for slightly over 2 years now. And what Airtribe does at Airtribe, we offer upskilling programs which are led by industry experts, also accompanied by an active learning community of like-minded individuals. So that's what we do on a very high level, and we also have an LMS system like the platform that the product that I work on, which facilitates the entire learning journey of a learner. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, folks, and to give you some context, Airtribe's LMS, which is their platform for cohort based courses, is what we use at 10K designers on the back end. We've been using this ever since cohort 5. And yeah, couldn't be happier using it.
Yes,
So
it's
for
been a
me,
great journey.
yeah, definitely. For me, actually, it's also so good because I know that like it's such a meta loop, which is I know that these folks have gone through the Airtribe experience when they were in the cohort. Now they're making improvements to the platform. And hopefully, I'm waiting for that circle to also close, which is a lot of those things come back to the platform and we you know, keep making it better for future cohorts. So this, I'm super excited to get into some of these
Yep.
today. So let me bring up the first one, and then you can tell me maybe a little bit about what the problem statement was. So,
Okay,
um,
Abhinav, one small thing. I can't see anything on the screen right now.
mhm,
Mm, it's still like blank for me. So are you
mhm.
sharing your screen or anything?
Um, give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So, Bonnie, real quick, I think I'll just ask Hardik to send you the link to this case study. I am screen sharing, but maybe there's a issue. You're not able to see it. But this is
Yeah.
the first one we're going to look into. Yes, folks. You on stream, you can see it. Okay, good to hear that. Okay. So, Hardik, could you just send Bonnie the link to this case study? Okay. Bit of technical difficulties, folks, but let's jump into it. So, Bonnie, can you tell us a little bit more about this problem statement? Like, what exactly was it? And then maybe we'll dive in.
Okay, so which problem statement are we looking at?
This is
Which
the
submission?
video viewing experience for AirTribe.
Okay, cool. So basically, the problem statement was to improve the video viewing experience on AirTribe in order to make consuming lengthy educational content easier. So, which sounds very straightforward, but I'll tell you how we came up with this problem statement for 10K particularly. So, AirTribe is a cohort-based learning platform that facilitates these kind of courses, which are mostly reliant on live sessions, right? So all of these sessions, these core sessions, are where core concepts are being taught. So, but as we have seen, like most of our target audiences are working professionals, and they tend to miss a few sessions every now and then because of their workload or whatever reasons, right? So they have this ability to kind of go back and watch recordings of the sessions on their dashboard, which is the product that we work on. And also, if they want to quickly brush up on previously covered topics and
Hmm.
for stuff like that. But one thing that came out of our user research is that it gets very difficult for somebody to sit through an entire video recording, which is most probably like an hour or so long, right? So they don't stay engaged throughout the video, and which eventually leads to drop off, people not getting motivated to sit through the entire video and not eventually completing the course. So we also analyze a lot of people who tell us like, okay, I'll get back on track, I'll catch up by watching the recordings, but they wouldn't go back to it. So that was
Hmm.
one of the biggest issues that we uncovered through our user research. So that was, but we had other bigger priorities that we wanted to focus on at this moment, so we thought we could just give this problem statements as something that I think 10K folks could relate to. So
Hmm.
that was one. And there was another problem statement, I think we can get to that maybe later. Yeah,
Perfect. Sounds good.
this was one of the problem statements that we gave. Yeah.
Got it. So we're reviewing right now Kritika's case study. Let's go into it. All
Okay.
right. So assumptions while getting started. It's a learner side. So yeah, folks,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you some context here. Now, when you're thinking about a platform like AirTribe, when you're designing for these kind of platforms, usually you have to think about the supply side and the demand side, right? In this case, it's the learner side and the creator side. So me as the creator, the person running the course on AirTribe, I have a different view. I have a totally different experience to manage it. And then learners have a totally different experience for learning. So, okay, these are the assumptions. We're going through this. Okay. So right up front, what I can see is Kritika started with a quick audit. Um, so went through the screens to analyze the pros and cons. Okay. And Bonnie, feel free to, jump in anytime. We're
Yeah,
just gonna go through.
sure, sure.
Q&A. Hmm, got it. A quick tip for folks who are watching: whenever you do have problem statements that are around redesigns, whether that's for internships or anything, like anywhere when you're doing redesigns, a good thing to probably start with would be a quick audit where you capture screenshots from the current experience. Like you want to be able to measure your future design against what already exists. And so capture that experience, annotate it. As you can see here, Kritika has added a bunch of these sticky notes. Um, and definitely do this. And my suggestion would also be, have it in your Figma file, all this stuff ready, so that in meetings, in design reviews, in interviews, you can quickly go in here and, without having to explain all of it at once, you can just show this image and you can just be like, hey, so I saw these things. Okay. Would you agree with these scenarios, Vani, which is people who miss their live classes, like their pain points and all of this?
Yeah, so I think I particularly like this section where she has segmented users into like different user groups. And she spoke about, people who missed their live classes and people who attended their live classes and their scenarios and pain points. And I do agree with some of these, but I also wanted to see more of the research. Like, my first concern when I looked at it was, how did this pain points, where did this come from? So did
Mm,
you do a user research? Did you conduct some user interviews? That wasn't highlighted in the case study, and that was something I
mm,
felt like was missing. So for me, it was like, okay, where did these points come from? But later on, we had a one-on-one call, and she clarified that she
mm.
did do some user interviews, and that's how she came to these conclusions. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, my guess is a lot of it comes from personal experience. But yes, would probably
Yeah.
be good to mention that the interviews as
Yes.
well. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, like, when you're one of the users, like, for example, Kritika, she has been a learner and she has extensively used the dashboard. It's very important to validate your own assumptions. You might have
Mm,
some problems. You might have faced certain issues or difficulties while you were during the course, basically. But then it's very important to validate whether or not it's a problem that is worth solving, whether or not it's a problem that everybody else is also facing, or most of them are facing, right? So I think that was also not clearly highlighted, but I guess we
mm,
clarified it in the call. Yeah.
mm. I like these three use cases, which is people who missed, who did not miss, who attended it but want to revise, and number three,
Hmm.
who attended it but had to leave in between. Yeah, these are the three use cases. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
good, good. Um, okay. Hmm. Going into this, I'm really curious to know what kind of changes. All right. So, okay. All right. So, one quick thing here, folks. Right. This is little bit more from the case study perspective. It's a short case study, right? In the sense that it's 4-minute read, which is not a bad thing, by the way. It's good if you're able to be crisp and still get your point across. However, after having gone through all of this stuff, I felt a little like it just kind of ended abruptly because I do want to see the final designs, but I'm gonna have to watch the video to do it. So, Kritika, I think definitely would have been nice to see also the screenshots here. But
Yeah.
what we're gonna
I
do?
do agree with that.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? Maybe let's get Kritika on, and maybe she can talk to us a little bit about it, and maybe we'll play this
Hmm.
video as well. So, Kritika, about to get you on right here. Hey, Kritika, how you doing?
Hey, hi Janil, hi Bonnie. Hi
Hi.
guys. I can't see anything, so I'm just seeing a blank screen, but yeah, I can hear you guys.
Oh,
Me
okay.
neither. Even I can't see
Facing
anything
issues today.
actually.
Okay. So anyway, Kritika, what we're doing right now, we're currently at the Loom section of your video of the case
Yeah.
study. Can you tell me a little bit more about your solution? Like, once you did all this research, what were some of the explorations that you kind of did?
Got it. Yeah, so I'll just start with how I picked up the problem statement and like what I went through it and how I came about with the solution, right? So I was kind of like 1 week late into the like the I think the third project when we got the problem statement because not third project, fourth project, the Capstone project, because I was kind of getting stuck with the app design part, and I was trying to iterate a lot, and I saw other people like moving forward, and that kind of like gave me motivation to actually just like finish it within the timeline. So excuse me if it's like really short, but
Yeah,
yeah,
no worries.
so I picked up like a problem statement that I could really relate with, which was a video viewing experience, right? So I picked it
Mm,
up, and then like I was also added into a group where other couple of other folks were also trying to solve trying to do the same trying to do a similar capstone project for Airtribe. So we all got onto a call on Gmeet, and like people were just like ranting and talking good, and the pros and cons of like Airtribe, and because we're all like regular users. So I would say it was kind of like a unstructured user interview where it was more of like like personal experiences, and
Mm-hmm.
like what could be better, inspirations from like what they liked about other video streaming platforms. So I kind of like noted down a couple of them, and I also had like my own observations which got validated in the call. And then what I did was I kind of like took a lot of time to just sketch it out. Like first try was like really bad, then I tried to see like inspirations from YouTube. My personal favorite is actually Skillshare. So I try to kind of like understand how they try to keep the content or the uh, lessons or like the chapters like very crisp and short. So I wanted to like try a similar pattern, and also like make it interactive and engaging for them,
Mm-hmm.
to include the social element. So yeah, based on that, like a
Got it.
couple of sketches, and I also like validated these with a couple of folks from 10K. By the way, like these guys, like I couldn't have done the project without these guys. So special shout out to Siddharth and Samba, and also Priya, and also Grace. So they all kind of like helped me validate, they kind of gave me like timely feedbacks in every single sketch of mine. And quite honestly, I spent a lot of time in problem solving and not the
Mm,
UI part, because they had an already established design system. So I just had to reuse the elements. So once these
got it.
sketches were done, started the UI directly. So
Got it.
yeah,
So I'm just checking out now. Overall,
yeah,
yes, I think definitely you should have included the screenshots, but no worries. For now, I was just going through the loom. One thing that I really did like was that you've created this clear demarcation on the page, which is like dark, the purple thing on top, the light thing on bottom,
yeah,
just to create these two areas, which is this is the video area and this is the information area. So I found that I found that to be quite a clean layout. Um,
got it.
Bonnie, feel free to add anything.
Yeah, I think I absolutely love how she has redesigned this whole video viewing experience, as in this page particularly. Like how you mentioned, the separation, the darker background for the video and the lighter one for the other stuff. And I think this is really great.
Yeah. I think the tabs are a good idea as well, which is, folks, if you notice here, what was the difference before, right? Outside of this, what we just talked about. Um, Currently, the pattern that Airtribe was using or is using is this, which is you. What is this called? This is like kind of this drop down as I'm just blanking on the name. So, trombone, fuck, whatever. This pattern, right? The problem with this is you've got a lot of sections, but they're linear. So the one at the bottom is the hardest to discover, which means the sections at the top get most of the action. Right? One way Kritika has solved that is kind of made it tabs where at a glance it's easy to see what all is included and navigation becomes much easier. Yeah. Mm. Accordion. Why was I saying? Yeah, why did I say trombone? I got mixed up with my musical instruments. Yeah, folks. Yeah, I was just thinking about that. I was like, what's this pattern called? I'm forgetting the name. This is the accordion pattern, right? Where you click it and it expands it. Yeah, that was a quiz moment for me as well in there. Okay. All right, Bonnie. So, Kritika, any final notes on this? Overall, what was your experience like towards the end, maybe, or now that you've done this, what are you thinking? Uh, okay, actually, hold on. Too many questions. The first question I want to ask is, what was your design
Yeah.
experience like before this? Like, is this one of the first couple of projects, or you've done a bunch of stuff before?
Yeah, so this, quite honestly, this was not my first project. I've done a couple of, real life, I've created like products like from zero to one as well. Like I was one of the first designers in another edtech company.
Mm,
So I've quite had like a lot of learnings over there, and I've created a couple of case studies on my own. um yeah, but like this, so I purposefully wanted to keep this case study short,
Hmm.
because I really, because I myself, when like when I go through people, different designers case study, it's quite too long, and I really liked the part where Abhinav, like you try to try to explain, like you asked us to explain our case study, like record our case study in Loom and send it within
Hmm.
like 2 to 3 minutes, right? So I really like that compact format. Though,
Hmm.
like, yeah, now that I look back, I think I should have added more screenshots to explain like each and every like detail. I think I missed out on that. But yeah, that's a good feedback. I think I should add more on that. So yeah,
I love that. I
but
love that
oh,
you took this approach.
yeah,
And I think, given the fact
yeah,
that you've designed for EdTech before, this is a really good selection for your portfolio. Yeah.
right, yeah. Thank you.
Cool, guys. So that's our first case study down. Give it up for Kritika in the chat. Thanks a lot, Kritika, for presenting. Anything else you'd like to add, Bonnie or Kritika?
No, I think I'm good. This was a great project, Kritika, and I had a lovely time chatting with her on a one-on-one setup. So yeah, all the best,
Awesome.
Kritika.
Thanks, Moni. Yeah, thanks,
Thanks,
Moni. Thanks,
Kritika.
Abhinav. See you later.
Yep. So, folks, that was number one. Number one done. Bonnie, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a quick quiz, okay? With just one down. Folks, you know what's about to happen, all right? Let's it's time for our design quiz of this episode. What we're about to do is I'm about to screen share a design trivia question with all of you. The first person to get the answer in the chat wins a 10K Designers t shirt from us. Just something we do in between these to keep it fun and to keep it engaged. But we're going to be doing maybe about two or no, we're going to be about maybe 3 t-shirt giveaways today. So stick around till the end if you want to learn more about some of these problem statements, but also probably have the chance to win a t-shirt. Okay. Are you ready, folks, for question number one? Let's go. Mm, all right. I'm going to bring up the first one here. The first question I was able to get Figma prototype working today. But here we go. First question in our design trivia for today is, for which company did Mark Otto and Jacob Thornton, the creators, develop the Bootstrap UI framework? That's our first question here. Tricky one. Who's going to get this? Kind of easy. Kind of easy, right? We're not going too difficult in the questions because we still want you guys to figure it out. All right, who's it going to be? Folks, final couple seconds before we reveal the answer. Here we go. So, the answer is Twitter. Originally, Bootstrap UI framework, one of the oldest ones. I think it was, if I'm not wrong, the date is 2008 is when it came out. So, one of the oldest frameworks, but yes, it was originally developed for Twitter and, of course, open sourced. So, who got that? Maybe it's, you know what, Hardik, I'll let you figure out who the winners are. But in this case, my guess is it's either Anmol or Josh or Ananya. All right. One of these folks got the answer. Of course, some of these folks are also got the answer last time. So, we don't want to send 2 t-shirts, but, We will also do a tally towards the end. So, the people who got the most answers across episodes, you'll get something special as well. So, Hardik, please keep a note. All right. Yeah, I saw X in the answer. I guess kind of correct, but it was called Twitter back then. Um, all right, let's jump into it. So, Bonnie, number two, we're also going to look at the same problem statement, which is solving the
Okay.
video viewing experience, but this one is by Shrayana.
Yes. Let's go.
Right. I like the cover image. Looks cool. Stage
Yeah.
view.
So one thing that I really like about this case study, when you like start off, that she tries to kind of make you relate with the problem statement. She tries to frame a relatable story around it, which I think
Hmm.
really kind of keeps you hooked. Like you're keen on picking up a new skill and blah blah blah. And then there is the problem that the real challenge is in the lack of information, but the skill of effective consumption. So this is something that stood out for me in the case study right from the beginning. So yeah.
Hmm. Yep. Folks, you're going to call me like OCD or whatever for this. Like, it's not a spelling error exactly, but Bonnie, I think Airtribe, you guys don't capitalize the T, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
don't.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, small thing, but folks, really think about stuff like this. You know, people do get pissed off sometimes when stuff like this. Again, not so common, but it's almost like, um, like there was a time, and like this is way back, where people would say Facebook, but then imagine saying Facebook as face and then capital B book. Imagine how weird that would look. Today we know Facebook is all small and but it looks weird, right? And let's apply that same standard where you wouldn't say Facebook as face capital B book. We should apply that same standard to all companies, especially if you're working in this kind of capacity. But anyway, I think it's just in a couple of places, not everywhere. So all good. All right.
Okay, one more thing that is like the problem statement that is being mentioned here, optimize the video viewing experience on AirDrive to make easier content discoverability and engagement for learners. So this wasn't the initial problem statement, but Shana, she went ahead and did research and realized, okay, these are the more pressing concerns around video viewing experience, and she decided to tweak it a bit, which I
Mm,
did like. She kind of went ahead and did the research and realized, okay, these are some of the more concerning things, and I think I should solve for content discoverability. So that was
mm,
nice, I feel.
nice. Okay. You know what, Shaina, maybe we'll get you on. I want to actually talk about some of this stuff. So let's do this here. Hey, Shaina, how are you doing?
Hi, Abhinav. Hi, Bonnie. What's up?
Hi, Trana.
So, Shaina, you want to just talk to us about, um, the thing that Bonnie just said, the statement. How did you discover what exactly the problem was? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so in my research process, I started off with getting a whole survey done and sending it to 10K folks in the group. And then I got onto the Zoom call. A few of us got onto that, and we got a lot of inputs. And also, I went on through the voice channels in Discord to get insights. And then after jotting down all the problems, I segregated them onto different sections on what are the main concerns which come. I mean, I literally categorize them, and from there I more like prioritize these, that these three are the different problems that people are facing, and then I redid the problem statement all at once. So
Mm,
this is how
got it.
it went.
What was your research experience like? Because I think the advantage with with picking this capstone was the users are so easily available. Like you've got a couple. Like you've got your own people you can talk to. So what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was it was actually pretty convenient, and that is why I really liked the problem statement. And it was very easy to get data.
Mm,
But then after later on, we had a call with Bonnie, and she said that there are also more people who use Airtribe as their platform. So what about them? So maybe overall there could be a little bit of bias,
mm,
but I tried to make it more generalized.
mm. Yeah, I think Bonnie, this comes to your earlier point, which is as users, yes, we do have our own experience, but it's nice to validate that wherever possible.
Yeah, yeah, true.
So, folks, you're reading this. Let me answer a quick question that some people do have around this, which is this kind of stuff, right? Like, I think a lot of people who are like beginners, they know I'm supposed to do screens, apps, and Figma and all this, but this stuff, which is figuring out what's the problem to solve rather than directly designing, is usually a bit of a mystery, right? I'll just give some quick insight to you. Overall, the idea is before you solve a problem, you need to figure out what's the problem you're solving. That's the clear thing here. That's the clear difference here, right? So typically, most case studies you will see the reason they start with this kind of stuff is it's not always obvious, which is make a music app, make a learning app, or just do this, right? A lot of times it's about, okay, this app exists, like Airtribe here exists, it works a certain way, it has certain problems. Now I can change a lot of things, but then the time I have is only like 7 days, 14 days. So how do I prioritize? And how do I prioritize? Like, how do I come up with what's higher priority? I need to validate this with people, and I need to go through some prioritization process. So anyway, sounds complicated, but pretty much before you jump in, try to figure this out before, because it is common that delays usually in the design process happen when you start solving something, you finish it, and then you realize, wait, that didn't address the problem. Like I solved it, but I solved like a small part of it rather than the part that everybody was saying please solve, right? So it's a little bit like that. Okay. Nice. I like the annotations approach. Okay, let's see this. So video viewing experience with pre-recorded videos and then with session recordings. Got it.
Okay, one small thing that that kind of I wanted to highlight was when I looked at it for the first time, I felt like, okay, these are in different colors. So does this mean anything? Okay, does green mean something? Does red mean something? The annotations.
Hmm.
So I was a bit confused. So I thought maybe there must be some legend or something. But then I read through it and I realized, okay, these are just, it's just for fun using different colors and stuff. So
Hmm.
maybe that is one thing that at first I got a little confused. But yeah.
Hmm. Yep. All right. I want to
But
actually
very
jump.
nicely done analysis of the existing dashboard. I think this was very extensively done and I very much appreciate it.
Bonnie, can you share? I don't know if you have any insight you'll be able to share on this, but would you be able to share? Like, so you work, closely with the founders of Airtribe,
Yeah.
every single day working on the product. What is it? Do you have any insight on what is it like as a founder when they see something like this, like their platform broken down and put in this way for them to analyze as well? Because they know the platform, but it's still useful to see it broken down like this.
Yeah, I think our founders specifically have a very strong product background. So they always appreciate if somebody comes up with new ideas or say, things like you guys could do this in a better way or stuff like that. And we would just bounce ideas off with each other and just have a healthy discussion on, okay, this person came up with this idea, what do you think? And I think it's always been very healthy and not like feeling bad about it that somebody has broken down the whole
Of
product and
course.
kind
Yeah.
of is trying to nitpick issues and stuff, but it's
Mm.
always been, I think, the other way around,
Nice, nice.
at least here at Airtribe.
Mm. Yeah, and I want to add that to for folks who are thinking about maybe doing a redesign of some platform or There are, I'm sure you as a designer folks, the designers here, you've observed that when you use platforms, you don't just use it as a user anymore. You're also looking at, oh, they could have done this, they could have done that better. Bonnie just brought up a great point, which is, if you do come across this, is it okay if you can just make a case study and just say, hey, I found something wrong, I solved it, and here we go? Like, is that a weird thing? And overall, I want to share to you, it's not, because most founders do appreciate structured thinking when it comes to stuff like this. So my tip to all of you is, yeah, if you ever use, like, let's say there's an app you use quite often, and you're like, every single time I think about this thing and why didn't they do it this way? That's a, you don't might not even have to be a huge case study or something, but it's like one design session, write one article about it. It just, uh, hit publish. Yeah. Okay.
True. And it's also a nice conversation starter. You can just send them across key, okay, this is something that I found out in your product. What do you think? This is what I'm proposing. And if the founders are interested, anybody working on the same thing is interested, they would definitely appreciate it. I don't think people would, shy away or kind of not care about other people coming up with ideas.
Mm. So Bonnie, you want to talk about some of these features that she's designed, and maybe I want to hear your view on it. Yeah.
Okay. Which ones?
Like
Sorry,
keyword
there is a lag.
feature onwards, keyword feature, discovering pending tasks,
Okay.
all of that stuff.
Yes, let me get there. So, yeah, the keyword thing, right? I think she introduced one which is like a search feature. And we had a one-on-one call, and then she had placed it in a different place, and we kind of brainstormed in the same call, and she decided to put it on a more noticeable and expected position, the search bar. And also the keywords on the cards, right? I really like the small, tiny attention to detail sort of thing. Like, it can get a little overwhelming on the card because there's just too many information on the card, right? There is session timing, there's XP, there is play, resources, and notes and stuff like that. But she has added the small enable and disable, so like show keywords toggle or like checkbox, which if you want to, you can see. If you don't want to, you can just hide them. So that was something small, but it was really something that stood out for me.
Mm,
Yeah.
nice.
And also this discovering pending task section, wherein she handled multiple states, was very, I think that is something very important as designers. When we work on personal projects before joining a company, we just work on the default or the ideal flows, right? But when you start working on projects, you have to also think about multiple states, like empty states. Let's say if there are multiple pending videos, how do you go about showing them? If there is like an incomplete task, how do you show that? So
Mm-hmm.
that was also handled quite nicely here, which I really like. And yeah, I guess, yeah.
Mm. Attention to empty state, always nice to see that. Just quick call out there. Mm. Deprioritizing. I think one of the challenges with deprioritizing, while I like the feature, um, my observation, I've usually seen people get confused. They're like, "Acha, abhi to tha, but ab kahan chala gaya?" Like, it's usually that's what I've observed. Yeah, which is that's what I would think twice about. Something like that. Yeah. From a UX perspective, the principle, it's just of, the way I would like to explain it to you guys, it's kind of like object permanence, right? Which is, in your house, if you leave something somewhere, it's going to be there. But if it's not there, usually something has happened. There's some reason why. And if you don't know the reason why, it causes confusion. Like, where did this go? So, anyways, similarly, for when you're designing for screens, these kind of actions, it's a good idea to try to maintain that object permanence, like try to keep it in a similar place. Because when you create a rule, like in this case, like it will show, if this, then show this, if not, show this. It can work, right? I'm not saying generally don't do it, but if users don't know what the rule was, like let's say it was distractive is the rule you're applying here, People can get confused about that. Anyways, so just a small note there. Shrayana, talk to me about the note taking experience. Like, um, what was the insight behind this? And, if you could just explain this a bit.
Yeah, so even when we were doing we were in a Zoom meeting with all the 10K folks, few of them joined who were doing the same problem statement. We discussed about note taking, and one of them were mentioning that sometimes there are cases where when the Zoom call is happening, they miss to take the notes, and then they go back to the video, switch it on, and take notes. And there are situations where even in
Mm,
other, when I was doing the competitor analysis of Coursera and I think, yeah, Udemy, so they have note taking features that they have recently implemented, and there are features where they can save the notes, post it publicly. So from there I came across this decision.
got it. Because, what comes to my mind is, yes, I have seen that in Coursera as well, but I've never used it. Because every time I would see it, I would be like, why would I give you my notes? I would keep it in my Apple Notes, right? So that's what came to mind when I was going through this.
Yeah, I think that's something that we have had multiple discussions on at Airtribe about note-taking feature, but we never came up, we never decided to prioritize it because we always have this kind of pushback that people have their own personal note-taking sort of places or tools or apps, right? And it's quite
Hmm.
personal to them. Somebody would be comfortable. Let's say I have my personal Notion doc where I just dump in all my stuff like resources or anything. uh, that but say like other people would have the same, so we were not sure even if we introduce something like that what would be the utility of that. Will people
Hmm.
utilize it to the maximum potential, right? So that is one thing that always kind of pushes us back when it comes to note taking feature on AirDrive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's tricky because I can see the other side of the argument as well, which is, if more people were to add their notes here, maybe it benefits the collective to see it together, but then it's not always
Hmm.
guaranteed. And not everybody will contribute their notes here. Um,
True.
a quick note to folks, right? This example that we just brought up, for example, note taking. Now, this typically is how an interview goes as well, right? Some of you who maybe not fully sat for design interviews yet, you might not fully know about that. Usually, rounds with designers are portfolio reviews, and usually it's these kind of things that are asked. But a quick note that I think some people kind of get scared about situations like this because they're like, what if I don't have the answer? What if I cannot give a solid UX, like the principle behind it? Or, and anyway, a lot of doubts around that. But I think what's more important is you're able to have a conversation about your design. That's core. Because I can tell you, even when you're working with a team as a designer, there will be situations where you design something and you get pushback. Like the devs say, no, we can't do this. Or the product managers say, I don't know, something else. And then you realize that, okay, wait, like, yes, there is this constraint we're trying to work with. Like, that's normal. It's not a bug. That's just how things happen. And so the way to resolve those things and to actually, you know, collaboratively figure out what's the best way forward, conversation, discussions, whiteboarding, that's how it happens. So that's what they're trying to simulate in the interview experience usually, which is when faced with a question mark. So what about this? Does the other person like freeze, lock up, or like are they defensive? Do they immediately start saying no, 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 like no, but I did that, but I, or are they like, okay, wait, I understand what you said. Follow back question, like actually understand first, then say okay based on that, and then just have the conversation. Yeah. All right. Coming to the end of this. So Bonnie, overall, what are your final notes on this case study?
Yeah, I think overall I think I like the UI part specifically because I think the research is something that I've already told Shrayana that it's very extensive, and I really like how she broke down certain screens and did the analysis. But also when it comes to UI, she has followed the guidelines very true to its, how it's supposed to be. Like we had already provided some color styles and text styles, and that has been followed very properly here. So I really like that. And all in all, I think this was a great case study for me. Like it's always, I think, rewarding to see people working on your design and dissecting them and putting together pieces and
Mm.
then coming up with new us, which is always, I think, appreciative. But yeah, I think this is a great project.
Shrayana, I want to just for the viewers who might not fully know, can you tell us a little bit about what was your experience like before doing this project? What had you worked on? Like your level of experience with design, and what was it like working on a real problem statement like this?
Yeah. So I this was actually my first one of the first. This was first we did the landing page, after that the app assignment, and this was the third experience for UI UX design.
Hmm.
But before that, I am from an architecture, urban design, planning background, so I had pretty much a little bit of idea of what to expect from this whole field. So could say that this was one of the real life project which was first thing for me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Awesome. Great to hear that. Folks, give it up for Shrayana in the chat. Let's go. And thanks, Shrayana. Thank you for working on this problem statement and sharing it with us tonight.
Thank you so much.
Folks, we are now 2 case studies down. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. We will also update the description of this video with all these links, timestamps, and everything later. Here we go. Here's the 2 case studies in the chat, the ones we've covered so far. If you want to check it out, read in depth, I would suggest for the folks who are watching this, definitely check out the Loom videos because I think that gives you a short, crisp, end to end walkthrough of the entire thing. And so I think some of you would probably enjoy watching this Loom video way more than just reading the case study because these are presented really well. So, yes. You know what that means as well, folks? It is, you know what? I was, a small side note, I was looking for the KBC voice note because I want to use that as the quiz thing. But, I just forgot. Last moment, I just forgot to pull that up. But our next question. Are you ready, folks? The previous one, the answer was Twitter. But right now, we're about to present the next question. And here it is. Who is known as the father of information architecture? Simple question. I think I have shared this with in the cohorts, maybe. Think so. But who coined the term information architecture? It's a common term we use, but who really came up with this? Let's go. Who's gonna get this? I see some answers coming in. Okay. Bruh. I see multiple answers coming in. And I'm just wondering if there are multiple answers to this because, okay, let's see. Let's see. Waiting. Okay, folks. So I'm going to reveal the answer now. And, ooh. So either we got the question slightly wrong, which is Ted, as long as I know, oh my God, Richard did coin the term information architecture, the founder of TED. But at the same time, looking at Peter Morville, I know Peter Morville, looking it up, was also super influential in popularizing this field. So we're gonna leave a question mark here. We're gonna post this, do some research, and get back to you. We have the chat log saved here. So if you got this right, you probably want a t-shirt. I don't know who it is though. It could be Siddharth who got this answer right, but I'll leave this up to the committee to decide. Okay. Bonnie, are we ready for number 3?
Yes, let's go.
So this is a totally different problem statement, not the first one. Can you tell us a little bit about what was the intention behind this one?
Yeah, so when we were coming up with these problem statements for 10K folks, we decided, okay, one is something that is the improving the video viewing experience on AirTribe, but we also realized that because 10K folks have been extensively using our dashboard throughout the cohort, why not give them an opportunity to come up with an idea that they have been thinking about or a problem that they'd like to solve, right? So we just asked them to draft a one pager regarding a problem they'd like to solve or a feature they'd like to implement on AirTribe in order to enhance the overall learning experience on AirTribe. And this was solely because they have been using it. And I'm sure as designers, you always have ideas and minds and keep thinking about things, how you can improve this particular app or a website or whatever. So that was the thought process behind it. Yeah.
Got it. So I'm going through this now, and okay. So folks who've not used AirTribe, you might find these problem statements a little bit not relatable, given that they're so deep product. So they're so deep into product. But overall, let me share this. For the cohort-based course, a lot of communication happens typically on Slack or Discord. But then this is where all the session replays and assignment briefs and all of this stuff is located. And the connection between these two isn't like almost non-existent, right? Like the person needs to have both these tabs open, the learner.
Yeah.
And so what
Yeah.
happens is they do certain things here and certain things there. So there is a groups feature in AirTribe, which is this is for groups of people who are working on the same assignment together, or these group of. Okay, actually, this is a good time to bring up. When you're in a cohort, right? The way it works, the way our structure works is, yes, you've got our live sessions that happen every week, but you've also got this, right? This is actually what the front end of it is, which is it's a multiplayer cohort experience, which is each month there is one simulator. And now the simple word for that is it's a project, it's an assignment. For this assignment, you're put into a pod. The reason it's called a simulator, the reason we're starting to use that term now, is because for every project, a simulation is created which has other teammates. So, like maybe about 6, 7 other people from the cohort, as well as 2 mentors with really good experience. So, this has been it's been designed in a way to, for this project, it creates the simulation of what it's like to work in a design studio or work in a startup. The problem statements are also kind of related to that, where this is usually the landing page, the website assignment. This one is usually the app assignment. Capstone, this is what we're reviewing right now, the AirTribe Capstone. But that's the little background behind it. So these pods, right, which is the unit of collaboration, you could say. These pods are created in AirTribe. And, on the learner side, you kind of see for each assignment who the pod members are. Okay. I liked this, which is just including the screenshot of your different user interviews. Now, it's a really small thing,
Yeah.
but
I think I absolutely love it. Like, she showed some glimpses of the user interview that she had done. And I also highlighted it in our feedback, the feedback that I had sent her. So this was nice. I think it feels authentic.
Yeah. And a quick note for folks, right, is when you do research like this, it's not. So the question is, how much of it should I include in the case study, right? Because um, I'm sure Grace did a lot of this, but has only included a little bit, which is just the insights here. Now, my personal suggestion to all of you is when you're doing these kind of calls, yeah, do a screenshot just so you remember that, oh, okay, I had a call with Sambhav, as part of this. That's just the basic thing. But other than that, it's a good idea documenting. So whenever we do research, whenever we do these kind of calls, we typically try to document. So of course, if you want to go super official, you can actually record the call, but then it's a bit of overkill, I would say. In this case, your notes, something they said that stood out to you, something they shared with you, you'll probably prepare some documentation in FigJam. And so here, you can probably just talk about your overall synthesis of that. And in an interview, this is a great conversation starter. It's like, oh, how did you find these people? What did you ask them? What did you learn from them? Right? Great conversation starter and a great jump in point into your FigJam, where you can now then go even deeper if they ask you to.
Yeah. One thing that is maybe kind of subjective to me, but is that, when I was going through these case studies, I wanted to see some of the questions that they had asked because I wanted to understand the scope of the research, if they're asking the right questions or not. Because most often than not, you end up, no, it's very important how you frame a question, right? You don't want to end up feeding what you exactly want to hear to the users. So I was looking for the type of questions they were asking. Are they correctly framing it or not? And what kind of insights they were drawing out of it. So that was something I wanted to see. But even if you don't want to include it in the case study because it makes it super lengthy, you can just maybe add a link to it so that whoever is interested can just go ahead and check it out. I wanted to see the questions, but I didn't have the questions here. So yeah, maybe that is one thing
Got
that
it. Yeah, I get what you mean. Which is, on one hand, it's useful to include the context. On the other hand, I can imagine somebody making a case study is like, I don't want to fully reveal everything. Like, they should call me in for an interview if they want to know more. So I
true.
see both
True.
sides. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm, okay. Some other platforms. Yeah. Can't really see too much here. So it kind of defeats the purpose. But again, this is where that it's a subjective thing, right? You can include all of this in your case study, but then it really increases the length, right? People are like, oh man, get to the designs. At the same
True.
time, maybe there is an advantage here because if you were in an interview, you would, directly jump into your Figma and walk through. So yeah. But I like this though, which is, even though this is really difficult to go through, here's the insights for me. So in some ways, Grace has saved me that time here. But if I do want to go in, yeah, I would probably ask you, hey, let's open this FigJam. Okay. So I'm going to get Grace on now. Maybe we can start talking about some of this as we get into this design curve. So let's get Grace on here. Hey, Grace, how are you doing? Or don't think I can hear you. Could you say something, Grace? Can you hear me?
Hello. Am I audible
Yes.
now?
Yes, you're audible.
Hi,
Yeah.
Grace.
Hi. Hi, Bonnie. Hi, Abhinav. I can't see you, but yeah, I can hear you guys.
Okay. So, Grace, we're just going through, we're currently checking out your groups page. We just went through your
Yeah.
research, but I want to just quickly ask you, after having, talk to me a little bit about after the research, which is after the research, you now know, okay, my experience, I know their experience. and I know roughly what the gaps are. What was the approach
Yes.
after that?
So after that, it's really necessary to, sit down and document what your findings are, and what your findings are definitely different from what insights are. So
Mm.
I did that, and having that, there are so many thoughts going on. Oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can have this, I can have that. So I what I did was I noted all of them down, and then I used Moscow framework, which was taught in our cohort, and that really helped me a lot to
Mm.
come up with the features that I need to include, because a lot of times it gets really overwhelming. I have to include this also, I have to include that also. But meanwhile doing this, I also knew that okay, if this is a real problem, this might be the solution a tribe must be looking for. So I connected with Bonnie. I asked her question, okay, is this something you want me to know, that what are your limitations, what is technically feasible or not. So I
Yeah.
did that.
One one thing that I like to highlight is that Grace was constantly in touch with me to understand. She was asking me so many questions, which was really nice, because when you're trying to improve an existing product, you need to ask a lot of questions, because there's a lot happening in the background, right? We might have thought of it, but for some product decision, we took some product decisions and decided to not take that call. So
Mm.
that's why, like, I loved how she was constantly keeping in touch with me and asking me several questions to get more clarity on the problem space. So yeah, that was something that really stood out from Grace's submission, I guess. Yeah.
Mm. Nice.
Also,
I.
I would like to
Mm.
sorry, I would like to include that you can see this case study is really short, and the reason behind that is, see, as a designer myself, if I go and read someone else's work, I don't read all of the things, because sometimes it's super lengthy. And
Yeah.
I remember writing a case study on Notion separately that has all the details, and I have shared that with Bonnie, so
Yeah.
that Bonnie can understand in detail, okay, what I have done. So the you said, right, like getting that
Oh, interesting.
interview call. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that was the thought I had.
Mm. Got it. So you had two versions. One was the public version, which is
Yeah.
the skimmed down, and then the private version, which is
Yes.
the in detail. Nice. Nice. One highlight here, okay, I really like this, which is the first thing. I mean, after having gone through this, one of the first things Grace suggested was not really a huge design change or something, but it's more of an information architecture change, right? I want to
Yeah.
just point this out here,
Mm.
which is originally this, how do you even reach this page, right? So information architecture typically has a lot to do with navigation. As part of navigation, you'll notice here tribe was a separate tab here, and projects was a separate tab. One of the things Grace realized while doing this is tribe is related to projects, because for each project there is a new tribe. Anyway, another note she made was that tribe is a confusing word because we actually don't use that anywhere.
Mm.
And so I think this final over here, what she's done is, number one, she's moved it under projects, because for every project there's a new group. And second, she's changed the term for it, which is its groups. Now, it might seem like a very small thing. You've just moved this and changed the name, but that's a lot of what information architecture is about: labels, navigation, and thinking about these kind of flows. Checking out the group discussion.
Yeah, one I think small feedback that I gave to Grace was she has added like a navigation, like a sort of secondary navigation inside this page, like group discussion. There are tabs basically: group discussion, Q&A, resources, meetings, messages, and members. So, what was the reason, or what was the thought process behind this sequence in particular? So why group discussion is at the first, like by default, that is what opens up, right, when you click on my groups. and then why is Q&A the next one, why is resources the other one. So that was something that I wanted to learn more, the sequence, about the sequence, what was the reason. And I think yeah, that could have been included.
I have a question for you, Grace. Right now, most of the group discussion happens in our, the pod group chat on Discord.
Hmm.
Here, this is a separate group chat. So, from, just a general question to you, do you think, like, what's better? Having, instead of doing Discord, we have the group discussion here. Like, would you prefer that? Or having a group discussion here as well as there, but then that creates confusion? Like, talk to me a little bit about this feature here.
Okay, so the reason why I included this was if you go on our Discord channels and on chat, there are a lot of times the conversation is happening not related to project or the assignment specifically. So that tends to get lost. So reason, even I discussed this with Bonnie. Okay, can I have both of these things? Even we have a voice channel and a video call feature on Discord. So she told me, both of them, like both the platforms, they have different purposes.
Hmm.
So including this over here, the initial thought process was, okay, some of the questions or project related or assignment related conversations get lost most of the times, because
Hmm.
even when you're connecting with mentor, you want to know them better. There might be things that you want to tell them or speak with them, and that leads to some kind of unofficial conversation, and the important things get lost. Even if you go right now, there are so many messages, I might not check all of them.
Hmm.
Right, I might contact the other peer member and I would say, okay, can you tell me, can you give me a brief, like what was been
Yeah.
discussed.
Hmm.
So that was the reason.
One possible downside I'm just thinking about this would be Discord. I mean, if it's Discord or Slack, you can on phone as well as your, like, you can
Hmm.
get notifications on your phone. I think maybe
Yes.
I think that's probably one reason to stay with Discord, because here you would have to log in on your computer, and I don't really, I mean, at least from my observation, I don't think most learners use AirTribe on their phone. Maybe not at all.
Yeah.
Maybe it's very, very small. Yeah.
True. So I think again, like I had given this feedback to Grace. So like she mentioned, we had like a very initial discussion that both the platforms serve different purposes, right?
Hmm.
And like 10K also, like on AirTribe, we have other courses, and all of those courses communities are on Slack. So
Hmm.
we can't force people to start using a particular feature on AirTribe just because we want to, we want to increase the engagement of the
Hmm.
platform per se, right? Because it's not a natural shift, right? It's like we will have to kind of enforce it, right? And we always thought about, even with a one-on-one chat feature, this is something that we have discussed so many times, but it never saw the light of the day because we realized that it's much more accessible when it's on Slack or Discord. You can just quickly
Hmm.
open, check it on
Hmm.
your phone if something's up there, and you can just quickly chat with people. That is not going to happen if you even if you try to do it on AirTribe, right? So I don't think even if you build something like that, it would be utilized properly. It would, like, mostly people would be still using Discord and Slack for most of their communication.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Got it.
that
So,
has been a pushback for us.
mm, a quick note to the viewers here, right? You might be thinking now, as a designer watching this, does that mean this was wrong to include this, right? Because we had this discussion and it does seem like, okay, maybe it's not the best idea. So the answer I want to give you all is that there's no wrong or right when it comes to design. It's what's more wrong or more right, and you're constantly just pushing that, right? Like, you're kind of just playing with the two. So in this case, there are good reasons for why yes, group discussion should be here. There are also good reasons for why no, it's probably not the best idea. But again, what's more important is you're able to have a conversation about it and actually say that yes, because usually Okay, usually from beginner perspective, you don't want to say bad things about your design, or you don't want to say
Mm.
anything which is like, bro, how can I say this about my own design? But in reality, it's like you can always take both views. You can take the one view where it's like, yeah, these are the things going in support, but then, these are the things that are not in support. And now weighing these two, what do you think? Weighing these two, having a discussion, okay, seems like we can move ahead with this. That's what happens every single day in a product organization, in a design studio, wherever. And so that's the approach. Totally normal. Don't feel weird about that. Yeah. What's up, Airtribe in the chat? Okay. Okay.
Wow. What is that?
Any final thoughts, Bonnie?
Yeah, one more I think thing I'd like to highlight is like I like how she tried to use the existing XP system in order to incentivize more discussions or more engagement. So
Hmm.
that was something that I really liked about this. So she has used an existing thing and used it to leverage it to drive more discussions in the group section. But overall, like UI, from a UI point of view, I think this levels that it could be visually represented in a more better way, I feel. Like when I looked at it first time, I felt like it was a little confusing. So maybe redesigning this and showing it in an actual level sort of design would be nice. That
Hmm.
was just something.
Hmm.
uh, yeah.
Got it.
And again, chat is something that I already mentioned. So but yeah,
Yes.
I think really nicely put together case study, Grace. Love reading through it.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Yeah, agree. I have a question for you, Grace, which is,
Yeah.
can you tell me a little bit about what was your experience like with design before having done this? And like, was this one of your first few projects? And yeah, tell us more about that.
Okay, so I have done few courses on Coursera, and I have made some of my personal project. But this experience was different because here you are dealing with a company. You have to communicate a lot
Hmm.
because sometimes you think, okay, this feature is really important. You could have this, but when you talk with the product designer, the developers, those tend to change because you realize, okay, these are the limitations which will not work, or with these are the things that will work. So that was one of the things. And secondly, when I was creating my own projects, I had all the UI colors, typography in my hand. But when you work with a company, it is really important to have their own brand identity reflected in your work too.
Hmm.
So that's really necessary to have that.
A quick question around that. That's an interesting point, which is the projects before this, they were, let's say, they were not for, it's not Airtribe, they were conceptual projects. You
Hmm.
have to come up with brand, you have to come up with the style guide, you have to come up with the design system. Here, you have the brand guideline and you have the design system. So, for this project, Grace, my question is, having the that UI part kind of sorted, did it make it easier to be like, okay, now I can go fully into the UX? Or what was that experience like?
Yeah, it was kind of sorted.
Hmm.
Like main thing that I worked around in this project was UX, but when it came to UI, I had to follow their guidelines too. Like Bonnie made it clearly. She told us clearly you have to use a 8-point system, and when she says that it's necessary, you have to use it because a slight measurement that may change, that will change the whole look of the website.
Hmm.
So both things are really important. With UX, you have freedom. Okay, you can think, I can do this, I can do that. But with UI, like I discussed with Bonnie also, and I got this feedback also that it looks clean. because it's very necessary to have those colors included. Because I remember they shared their UI kit with us, and there were lots of colors, even
Mm.
for small details, what kind of shadow you have to use, or what would be the state if a meeting is cancelled, what would be the color used. And
Mm.
when you work with these kind of projects, you learn a lot. Okay, those are the small things you have to understand. This does not come on personal projects.
Mm. Nice. Awesome, Grace. Thanks a lot for sharing this. And yeah, loved the case study. Keep it up.
Thank you guys.
Folks, with that, that's our final case study for today. But you also know what's coming up now. Firstly, give it up for Grace in the chat. I've dropped the link to Grace's case study. I will also update the description later with all of this stuff. Our final quiz question, folks. Oops. Are we ready? I think I might have accidentally leaked this question while switching slides. So, Joy, quick note, add a blank slide between the every question and answer so I don't accidentally leak it. But okay, folks, here's your question. Here's the final t-shirt giveaway question. All right. Which architectural firm designed Apple's headquarters, also known as the spaceship? Difficult one because yeah, you don't know off the top of your head. But if you've been paying attention, if you've checked out the, I think, talking about case studies, I think there are some really good case studies, architectural case studies about some of the details. I remember seeing this. So definitely worth checking out. Like, I know it's a spaceship, but what are the details inside that? It's huge. Try to find some case studies around that. But anyway, the answer, we're going to check it out now. I hope somebody got it. Okay. Which architectural firm? And the answer is Foster Plus Partners. So I see some answers here, which is Norman Foster, which is kind of right, but this one goes to Ayushi Prakash. Foster Plus Partners is absolutely correct. So Ayushi, you get one of our special t-shirts. It's a variant of our C7 t-shirt. I think you're going to enjoy that. Yeah, that's our final quiz question. Bonnie, before we wrap up for today, synthesizing all of this together, I want to talk to you about this one point, which is, we've been working together since cohort 4, Airtribe and 10K designers.
Yeah.
Airtribe has hired a lot of folks from our cohort, which is, Praful, Darshita. They've also, we do a capstone every single cohort. What are some of your observations of, qualities that you've observed in, the 10K folks that you've kind of worked with?
Yeah. So, first of all, I think they are super, super friendly. They are always like appreciative of, whenever you get to interact with them, they're always up for it. And I have also done a couple of research, like user
Mm.
research with these folks, and they're always very nice. That is one. And another is like, I feel the UX process, they don't like one small thing that I've noticed, which is different from the other case studies I get to review as part of hiring process, is that there's always this template, right? UX design process, you have to follow
Mm.
this step and this step, and after that you have to follow this again, and stuff like that, right? That whole double diamond thing. But in most cases in the real world, you don't always follow a set process,
Mm.
depending on the nature of the project or depending on your company also. It depends, right? It's very flexible.
True.
And uh, and in most 10K designers capstones and submissions, I've seen that they don't follow that process, that templatized process, right?
Mm.
They just go about how they did the research, how they gathered the findings, collect the findings, and then just uh, uh, create their own process. I think in
Mm.
Shrayana's case study, you must have seen like an overview which was not similar to the UX double design process, but it was her own. Like she tweaked it a bit, and then she gave an overview of what you can expect from the case study, which was
Mm,
really nice, and that's something
nice.
very common that I have noticed. And another thing is that they're very receptive of feedback. So I'm also part of the hiring team, and I keep interviewing a lot of folks, and a lot of times people don't take feedback very positively. So but in 10K I've seen like people would get feedback and then actually improve upon it, and then highlight that, and even give a shout out that I got help from so and so mentors, which
Mm,
is really nice, I feel. So
mm,
I think, yeah, that's a few qualities that really stand out for me when it comes to 10K. Yeah.
nice. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, folks, let me wrap up. I love that first one because it does seem like, I totally agree with you, Bonnie, where it seems like the process runs the designer when you read a lot of case studies, especially when
Yeah.
it's clear it's templatized. But the reality is, if a process runs the designer, you're always kind of beholden to the process, because in real life is not as perfect as a process is. Real life is messy,
True.
complicated, a lot of people, you have to figure stuff out. So rather than the process running the designer should run the process, right? Which means not being so fixed on, I need to do this, or I saw people include XYZ, so I should do XYZ. You run the
Yeah.
process to drive towards an outcome. And so, yeah, that's an actionable tip for all of you there. Yeah. And feedback as well. I think for newbie designers, my quick tip around this is that feedback is a gift. And it is a gift because somebody's taking the time out of their day to actually give it to you. And again, you can't get feedback from anyone, right? You need feedback from people who are like who you want feedback from, who have been through similar situations in the past. Um, so always be open to feedback, integrate it into your work, as Bonnie said, because that makes other people want to give you even more. And now again,
True.
you don't have to implement everything they say. You can just say thank you, feedback taken, and figure it out
Yeah.
later whether you really want to do it or not. But yeah,
Yes.
that's a quick tip for you all. Thanks a lot, Bonnie. Amazing session. I really enjoyed going through all of these.
Thank you
Um,
so much for having me, Abhinav. This was really great. I had so much fun analyzing some of the case studies and then dissecting it with you and asking them questions. This was, I think, absolutely fun.
yes. All right. Talk to you later, Bonnie. Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.
Folks, with that, we've come to the end of our episode number 3. A few quick announcement notes, whatever, that are relevant to you right now. Um, T-shirts. If you want a T-shirt in the past or in this episode, reach out to Hardik. I'm just going to put that on the screen here. Actually, you can find it in the chat. Winners, I don't think we've sent out last week's T-shirts yet, but Hardik, tomorrow, let's send out that entire batch. That's number one. Number two, we have a lot more episodes coming up. I think now that we're 3 episodes in, we're gonna we have an episode every single Friday leading up to Christmas. So all of December. Today is December 1st. Every Friday, we're gonna have these sessions. So stay tuned if you're finding something useful here of value. Definitely, we would love to have you in the next session as well. Outside of that, mm, we have a couple of videos coming out on this channel. Keep an eye out for that. But I will see you in the next episode. This has been fantastic. Talk to you soon. And if you've been accepted, your application has been selected for the 10K designers cohort, and you have questions around that, maybe you want to talk to somebody from the team, you want to talk to Hardik, who has been through the cohort experience as well. He handles collabs for us. Join the 10K designers open Discord. I'm going to drop a link to that in the chat right here. Hardik, if you could just drop a link to the open Discord. We're going to answer some questions there. Hartik's going to be online for a couple of minutes, hanging out there. So any questions, you can always, talk there. Or also, feel free to DM me on Instagram, Twitter, whatever. All right, guys. See you on Friday next week. Bye bye.